Hey everyone, welcome to the results video of the mini Pokey Park contest. In this contest everybody had to build something in Pokey Park and they weren't allowed to buy any of the land, so this was all the land that was available. Now we got quite a few entries, I believe it was 24 in the end. So yeah, let's just go through all of them and at the end I'll announce who was the winner of this round. Alright, in last place we have this entry from Willow 536. Now I have to say I had to dock his score a little bit. I had to subtract 1 point because I found some custom scenery in the map which is not allowed. So yeah, the custom scenery that he used is actually this this path here. So yeah, custom scenery or other custom objects are not allowed except for palettes. So sadly I had to subtract some of the score. Now other than that, well, you can see this big building here. I think it's quite impressive building. But yeah, when you make such a big building you should really try to make it look interesting from all angles. I mean, this is just a big a big rectangle of the same texture, same for this wall over here. And also these windows, they're not particularly interesting. You should really look in the Swag Shack channel on my Discord for examples for how to make your windows look more interesting. Yeah, this grid floor that's used here, it's typically not a good idea to use that. It's a much better idea to actually place some scenery and to make the inside area actually look interesting and nicely decorated. Other than that, well, I don't know what's wrong with this 3D cinema. It seems to be cut off from some angles. Maybe a part of it was hidden because it would be glitching through the wall. Not really sure. And there's all these shops and stalls here together. Yeah, when you place your shops and stalls, don't place them all together, but rather spread them throughout your map. And yeah, decorate them, make a little shack around them, put them inside a little building. That will make them look much nicer than they do now. Okay, the next entry is from OrigamiPhoenix. He actually built the, I believe it's the Pokemon League building from the Sinnoh region. Not really sure which Pokemon generation that was. Well, I actually checked out the building. Well, I checked a screenshot of the building as it looks in the game, and this is actually pretty accurate. It is quite glitchy though, as you can see. There were some walls that are mixed here, and they're on the same location, and that doesn't really help. You can see it being quite glitchy when I move around a bit. So you should really be careful with that. Don't try not to place several walls on the same location, because then this stuff will usually happen. Now, other than that, there aren't really any rides here. There's just some track texture, and there's some frozen entertainers here. Here's Nurse Joy. Not really sure if we can look inside the building. It's actually quite cool. So and some nice decorations here. Well, yeah, like I said, there's not much of rides here, except here on the outside of the map. There's some bicycles going around. That's actually kind of nice to see them go around. One problem with the ride is that there's actually 3 guests here on the ride, and they're actually waiting to get off the ride, because there's too many bicycles to fit in the station, so they cannot actually get off now. So that should probably be fixed. Well, I think this entry would have scored a lot higher if the outside area was decorated a bit more nicely. And maybe an actual ride other than the bicycles would have helped. Okay, the next entry is from ItsJustCurtis. It's been a while since he joined any of my contests, but it's always nice to see people come back after a long time. This entry quite simple. There's a nice little wooden coaster here with an interesting color scheme, and also has a kind of a nice station. I like how he did the roof. When you do wooden buildings, it's generally not a good idea to use this wall texture for for a big part of the building. It's generally nicer to mix it with different materials, although he did do a nice job at that at the lower part of this building. So yeah, some interesting supports here. There's also a launched freefall, which is only on one side. Little Ferris wheel, some nice trees in between. So it's an alright entry. But yeah, it doesn't really stand out much, I have to say. It's generally a nice idea to actually name your employees, or maybe actually have some entertainers walk around, just to add a bit more to the atmosphere of the park. Also, these fences here, they're not. Well, when you have a situation like this, it's usually better to add a different type of fence in between that you can actually place at an angle. This looks kind of weird. But still, I think this entry looks alright, and it makes nice use of the full space of the park. Okay, here's the entry from Dave, a newcomer on my server. He made this flying coaster. Well, it has quite a short layout, but it's really tall, and that actually gives it a lot of speed. When you put a coaster in such a small space, it's generally a good idea to make it a little bit less tall. Just so the coaster doesn't reach such a high speed. Now it has some interesting buildings here. He went for a Jurassic theme. He filled it up and themed it all nicely. I especially like this little dinosaur that he put here at the entrance of the park. Now this building here, it's kind of blocky, but it is a nice mix of textures. At least looks quite interesting. I also like how there's different levels of paths here, and also with some windows that are layered nicely, so the guests can actually look at this side of the park, where there's actually some actual dinosaurs in this fenced off area. So yeah, definitely interestingly themed. Alright, here's the entry from Master of Puppets. He turned Pokey Park into a mine, called Old Pokey Mine. Now what I actually really like about this entry is that he made a sign here right next to the highway. Have a splendid time at the Old Pokey Mine. Actually not sure if this is a highway. It seems quite small. Probably a local road. But yeah, he made a small mine train coaster here. With lots of nice theming around it. Kind of a strange layout, but it does make good use of the space here. And he also made a splash boats ride here. Now the part where it actually splashes and loses speed is quite short, so it actually goes through this corner at quite a high speed. But there's also some other trail rides here. This speed may still be alright. There's also some other trail rides here and some shops and stalls. It's just nicely themed. But maybe it does make a bit too much use of these wooden walls here. It's generally nicer to use these in moderation and mix them with some other wall types. That'll generally make your park look more interesting. One thing I didn't really like here is how he did the roofs here. When you have these roofs here like this, it's generally a better idea to put some of the wooden fences and slant them like he did here. Or when you have these sections like we do here. Then if you disable clearance checks, then you can put normal roofs under it, like so. Well, we would just have to fill up this little gap here. But yeah, then you just fill up the area under the roof. I think that's a better way to finish off the building rather than having these straight walls right next to it. Okay, here's the entry from TomGarstenveld, another player who has been absent from my server for a long time. I always love seeing people come back. Now, he made this steel twister coaster. Sadly, there are no guests on it when you open the park. That's usually something to watch out for. It's much nicer to see a coaster full of guests when people open up the park. So yeah, please keep that in mind. I do like that he gave the park a Roman theme. He probably should have made the park fence invisible and replaced it with his own fence. I mean, the park is small, so I think that would have given it a nice effect. Same with the original park entrance. The rules allowed for people to make it invisible and replace it with a building of their own. I think that would have definitely helped. It would have probably been nice to see the entrance in a nice Roman theme. But still, I like the color scheme of the coaster, even though the layout of it is quite unconventional. Alright, then we have Thai. This entry was made by Boracay Flavour. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He made this little inverted impulse coaster. And when you make one of these, typically it looks nicer if you give it a bit more straight track. So yeah, the real ones also have quite a lot of straight track compared to the station, and that's usually where there's more of these launch fins. Other than that, we have this swing ride here. Now it is done in quite a strange way. I think the supports for it, at least. I do like that he used the roto drop for it. But yeah, this structure here is kind of angled in a weird way, and also these supports for it look quite strange. What I usually do when I make a ride like this is just extend the path a bit so it goes right next to the supports rather than under it, because this looks quite flimsy. Now I do like this waterfall here with the top spin in front of it. That's really nicely done. I really like the way this looks. That's some good theming for your top spin. Other than that, yeah, it doesn't really blow me away. But yeah, it's rather nicely done. Alright, here's the other entry that also got 17th place. This entry from SupraNormaal. He made this little coaster here. Well, he also submitted a story for it to me, but he was too late in submitting it, so it didn't make it into the voting pool. So I do kind of like the layout of this coaster. It's nice and simple, just a loop and a corkscrew and then back to the station. And here he made a little garden and also a nice looking building. It has a very interesting shape. And maybe it could have used a little bit more color, but yeah, I think it's a really interesting looking building. I also like how he did the roof of the building. It looks like there's glass here on top of the roof. There's actually no glass, but yeah, it just looks like it, and that's really nice. So yeah, definitely great work on this. Yeah, on all the plans here. Now, when he submitted, I recommended him to actually put Scottish Novice in the park. That's always a really good way to get a higher score from her. She really likes it when people do that. So keep that in mind when you join a contest. Alright, here's the entry from RealSteel. He made this little park with two coasters in it. Now, he actually copied this ride layout from Extreme 256. When you copy a park from someone, always credit the original creator in some way. It's usually not a nice surprise if you have created a coaster and shown it off to the world, and then to find exactly the same layout in someone else's park without them being credited. But to be fair, RealSteel did today send a message on my Discord where he tagged the original creator and said that the park in this, or that the coaster in his park was a tribute to the original. But yeah, definitely always credit the original creator when you copy a ride layout or some buildings from someone. It's really not nice to not do it. That being said, I do really like the coaster that he made here. He called it Nessie Super Coaster. It's obviously inspired by the coaster of the same name in, I believe it's in Hansa Park. I actually rode it. Yeah, it's a nice layout. Also with a spiral around the drop tower, just like in the Hansa Park. And I really like the station that he built for the coaster. Now, so this RMC, I think it's also it fits really nicely in the park here. But of course, it's a copy of a layout someone else made, so it's not that impressive. But still, it all fits together really nicely. I think he did a nice job on the park. Although it is a little bit too crowded here, probably. Alright, here's the entry from Willby. Now, Willby actually had the most interesting story for the park from all the stories that were submitted. His story for this park was egg. So yeah, definitely a very interesting, very interesting story. So he made these river rapids that go around this park. He filled it with these rocks. I think he did a nice job on these rocks. It's a nice variety. Well, yeah, there's just a few of them, but still, he did it in a nice way. I like how he used the Egyptian walls here to fill up the space. Although I do think he should have extended the Egyptian walls to over here as well. So yeah, I also like the trees and the plants that he put in between the rocks. That looks quite nice. There's also another ride going around here with it's a steeplechase. He also gave it a really tight turn here at the end. But yeah, I think this is a really nice looking entry with some very interesting landscaping used here. Alright, here's the entry from Khidunu. Now, he made this big building here. Well, since it's such a big building, well, I think you can, it's nice to use some different textures for the roof. Maybe make some of the tiles here darker, or put some tiles of a different texture in between. I think it helps make your roof look interesting. I do like the structures that he put on the roof though. This telescope here is also really nice, although it is a bit glitchy in some spots. But this is really nicely done. You can also see the coaster pop out of the roof here. I think that's a really neat detail. Now, what I really liked about this entry was actually that a lot of the interior of the building is also decorated. You can see some of these containers here. And here's another floor with containers, and the coaster actually pops in and out of this room here. That's really neat. So yeah, here you can see some more of the coaster. Yeah, there's also some other rides here. You can see a lot of the guests walking around. And there's also some shops and stalls here. Well, I think he could have done in a nicer way as well. For the floor, he now just used this metal flooring that he used everywhere. I think it would have been nice to see a different texture used here for the floor. But at least they do have a different color than the rest of the path here. But yeah, some nice details here in this entry. And I do appreciate that he used a different color pattern here on the walls, just to make these walls look more interesting, rather than just having them colored completely white. So yeah, great entry and a nice coaster here as well. Alright, here's the entry from Savvy Adam. He made this purple spiraling coaster. So there's a spiral lift hill here. Not really sure if these wooden coasters are a great choice for that. Because for these spiral lift hills, yeah, the wooden coasters don't really have sprites for this particular angle. So that's why it looks like their front wheels are off the track. I think there are nicer vehicles for coasters that just have one car per train. But still, it's an interesting layout. It does go a little bit fast here. So this spiral would probably pull quite a few G's. But yeah, the supports, they look quite interesting. I like how it goes around here. It's definitely an interesting layout. And here's a launched freefall that actually uses the rotodrop vehicle. And I like this little viewing area here, where the guests can view the coaster. Now, what I usually advise Safi Adam, which I'm going to do again, is to mix some ground textures. Don't use grass in the entirety of your park. That's really not a good thing to do usually. It will look much nicer if you mix some ground textures. Put some dirt somewhere, or the dirt mixed with grass, maybe some rocks. That will look much nicer. But still, I do appreciate how he did the foliage in the park. Okay, here's the entry from Lurker. Now, I really love how colorful this park is. It's colorful in a good way. And yeah, I think there's some blue tints that you can see mostly in the park. But yeah, I think it's done in a really nice way. I love all these little buildings here. They all have interesting shapes. They're quite simple, but yeah, they're done in a nice way. I love how he used the different textures on many of these buildings. And there's also some interesting rides here as well. You can see the Ferris wheel, and of course this little coaster here. I think this little coaster fits in the park really well. It travels over these paths here. I think the size of this coaster is perfect for Pokey Park. It's not one of those huge woodies or one of the B&M steel twister coasters. This coaster is just perfect for a small park. So yeah, nice rides, nice buildings. I love all the little decorations that he put throughout the park. There's mushrooms, candy canes, pumpkins. Just done in a really nice way. Great work from Lurker. Okay, here's the park from Joseph Stalin, Comrade Chris. Well, I think he did a really nice job here. I believe he used a different palette here, not really sure. Yeah, you can see it in the watercolor. Some interesting buildings here. Here you can see a launched freefall through the roof of a building. I think when you make a ride like this, it's a nice, it's a good idea to put something on top of the spine of the track. But yeah, these buildings they look alright. It kind of does look like his last entry though. It even has the same memes. I do like these statues that he put in the middle here. They look nice, and it's fun to see all the guests looking at these statues. Maybe a little bit too much building focused. The buildings look quite alike. I think for such a small park, it's generally nicer to have a few smaller buildings rather than these big ones. There's also a chair swing here, which travels on a rail here on the roof. Quite an interesting ride. But yeah, maybe it would have been nice to see a little coaster in the park. But still, nice work from Comrade Chris. Okay, here's the entry from Terror Hank. Now, he made a really nice looking entry. I love how he did all the plants in his park. The twist also looks nice here in the middle. It's just framed really nicely, with some good looking fences around it. Here's a little spiral slide, and of course there's also a little coaster here in the corner. What I really like is that he put a ride operator here right next to the track. That's a really clever trick. So he just throws a security guard here named Mr. Operator Man. There's no mistaking that this is the operator of the ride. This side friction coaster here also looks quite nice. It's a very simple ride, but I think it's quite fitting for such a small park. More of a children's park, I guess. Also a nice little swinging ship here with a little waterfall right next to it. Also a frozen entertainer called Captain Clonk, Scourge of the Seas. So yeah, it's a fun entry. I love how he did the plants, nice decorations, really great job. Okay, here's the entry from Darkoro. This was one of my favorites. So yeah, Darkoro made a really nice Roman village here. I love the way he did these buildings here. They're nicely decorated, nice layering on these walls. Also really like how he did the flowers here. And of course this coaster here, a boomerang. I think it's the perfect size for a park like Pokey Park. And he did these supports in a really interesting way. So yeah, the supports for this loop also look great. Same for the supports for the lift hill track. Yeah, it's all just really nicely done. There's also a nice looking seating area here. What I actually liked most about the park was how he did all the names of the employees. He named them after people on our Discord, but he made the names look Latin. So for example, Joseph Stalin here is Josephus Stalinus. So yeah, really funny names in the park. Although, it is a little bit glitchy in some areas. But yeah, really nice work. Okay, here's the entry from Shen Kitchen. Now you may be wondering, where are all the guests? Well, this is a Pokey Park, but it was closed due to COVID-19, sadly. You can see the COVID staff here in their spacesuits. So here you can see a coaster that has deteriorated. There's not much left of it. I believe they're already destroying the coaster. This is also a nice way to put a coaster in your park that doesn't actually fit. Just tell them it already has been partly destroyed. But yeah, the part that is here, it looks really nice. I love the color scheme that Shen used. It really looks like a rusty coaster already, but it still has different colors throughout. So it looks like a different shades of rust. So it really looks believable as a park that is rotting away now. And it's definitely a very unique entry. Very well done. Okay, here's the entry from Zarathustra. Now, he actually made a version of the ride Switchback, which is an existing ride, except he modified it a bit. He gave it a twisted spike. So the ride travels up the chain lift, then goes down here, then passes through the rest of the ride. Then here it reaches the spike, and then it does the part of the layout again while traveling backwards. And actually here it reverses direction, and then it switches to this track here to go back to the station. It's done in quite a clever way. So it uses some trickery here. But yeah, I'm not going to explain that. You can download the park for yourself and check out how it's done. And I might make a tutorial on how to do this at some point. No, other than that, the park is a little bit empty, but there are some interesting rides here. Here's just a simple shoestrung ride with the guests now traveling backwards. I believe they travel forwards in the beginning. And there's also a little horse ride here called Rough Riders. You can see two guests sitting on it now, and the horse will just move back and forth. It's probably in berserk mode, so that's also a neat trick. I might also show a tutorial on how to do that at some point. But yeah, some really nice rides in this park, but sadly it's a little bit empty other than the coaster. But still, a really nice job on this layout. Some really nice trickery here. Okay, here's the entry from Jack. Jack made this very interesting entry. Now it does kind of remind me of an earlier park he submitted. It's probably has the same kind of palette. It looks quite saturated. But yeah, this part of the park just filled to the brim with nice little details. I love all the bridges that he made here. They pass over this dinghy slide runoff area. I like the roofs that he made here and the color schemes that he used for it. This park entrance also looks really interesting. There's also a lazy river going around here. I really like how he decorated this ride. Most of it is underground though, but the part that's outside looks nice. Also love this first to fall ride with this waterfall here. That's quite funny. I like how it's really framed in here. Looks really nice. And of course these dinghy slides, they're also done in a really nice way. The only thing I would probably do differently in this park is that he used the standard cube paths here inside this building. I would have probably replaced them with some track texture or something like that, just to make them look a little bit more interesting. But still, overall, this is a really nice entry. I love all the decorations and the colors here, and just how busy it looks. Nice job. Alright, here's the entry from Dididi Robby. Now, you'll probably recognize this robot. This is Wall-E. He also put this really nice text here in the sky for Wall-E. I believe it's only visible from one angle. So it's that trick again with the diagonal text that we saw Robby Hood do earlier. Now, this track texture is done in a really nice way. It works together with this palette really well. I think the track texture is, it's just done really nicely. I love how he did the tracks here. So the eyes, the face, everything really. I love how he used these pipes here. And other than that, there's also some interesting rides. Here you can see a wild mouse in the corner with some interesting supports. And here you can see this really cool pair of Ferris wheels. I believe I saw Shen Kitchen do this kind of Ferris wheel in a park. But it's done in a really nice way. It fits here really well. The only thing that I did not really like about the park was how we did the ground here. This ride does not really fit into the park very nicely. He just made the ground higher here to fill up this corner. That probably could have been done in a nicer way. But still, overall, this is really nicely done and some really impressive track texture here. Okay, here's the entry from Manticore 007. Now, I really liked this entry. He made this building here, but it's not a huge building. It's just big and really nicely decorated, both on the inside and on the outside. On the outside, it has a really interesting shape. It's generally easier to make buildings that are a little bit smaller. Generally easier to make them look interesting, and he did a really great job at that. One detail that I really liked was how we covered up the sides of these glass roofs with these Texas Giant signs. That's really clever. Now, on the outside we have this small coaster here. Sadly, no one is riding it because the stats of the coaster are really low. Maybe it would have helped if he went to the object selection, or the scenario options, and if he set the option for the guests to prefer less intense rides, then he probably would have ridden the coaster. Or maybe it would have been a good idea to manually edit the stats of the coaster. Now, if you look inside the building, it looks really good. There we go. So yeah, this is really nicely decorated here. There's some other rides here as well. Nice little shoestrung ride. Here's also a boat that travels back and forth. Here there are some wagons. There's probably hidden shops here where the guests can buy stuff. And there's also a small a kiddie drop tower here. So yeah, some interesting rides here. I really like how he decorated his entire park. So great job from Manticore 007. Okay, the next 3 parks, they all have a chance at winning. I will just show the next 3 parks. Then after that I will announce who was the winner of this round. Alright, here we have the entry from Ulvenwood. Now, he actually thought Pokey Park. So he actually put it full of Pokemon. So here we can see a Charizard. Under the Charizard, there's Charizard's Ring of Fire. You probably should have called it Fire Spin or something, just to stay in the Pokemon theme. Here we can see a Geodude that he made using 3D cinema. That's really really nicely done. Here we can see a Duck Trio. And here you can see a big Gyarados. I think this one is done really well. It's probably my favorite Pokemon here in the park. And there's Staruse Fishing Adventure. You can see some boats traveling around Gyarados. And so one detail that I really liked is that the guests are actually walking through the grass here. Just like in the Pokemon games. You can also see a spider here and a snail. Probably some Pokemon that are hiding in the grass here. Also here you can see a shop called Pokeballs. Well, a building called Pokeballs. Inside here there's information kiosk that sells umbrellas. I guess red umbrellas kind of look like Pokeballs. But yeah, the way he did these Pokemon, I think it's just really well done. It's also really clever go for a Pokemon team in Pokey Park. Really nice buildings. Yeah, just a very clever entry. I really like this one. Okay, here's the entry from Robby Hood. Well, it may not look like much, but when you look closer, you can see really cool tricks used everywhere. For example, if we start at the entrance, well, this is Pokey Pool. That might be the name of the park as well. Well, I love how he did these windows here on this building. This is just a mixture of glass walls with some of the Japanese type walls behind it. But they're not actually diagonal, but they're slanted at an angle, which makes it look like there's a big diagonal wall here. It's just done in a really nice looking way, and it's really convincing. This building here with the seating area also really nice. Little camping ground here. Now, if you look closely, you can actually see some bugs crawling around or flying around in these bushes here. Let me scale it up a bit. You can see some bugs going around in the bushes here. Now, that's actually not custom scenery, but what he did is he actually made an invisible mini golf ride with invisible riders, and you can only see these balls going around. There's actually some hidden mini golf holes here, and that just makes it look like there's these bugs flying around. And this is such a clever trick. We will see probably see more people use this in the future. I might also make a tutorial on how to do this, because this is just so clever. I love that Robby Hood keeps coming up with cool, clever tricks like these. Now we also see these lamps here that he hid or that he buried into the ground. I think they make these paths look really nice. It's nice to see all these lamps so low next to the path. This is also definitely a trick I will probably start using in the future. Something else that he did, well, the entrance to the pool, he actually put station pieces with a path on top. That's also really clever, and it looks really good. Now this pool is also really nice. He used a grid floor here. I think this is one of the few situations where a grid floor actually looks nice, and he used the walls with the nets against the sides of the pool. Also, I really like how he did the stairs of the pool. The plants also look really good. So yeah, at first it might not look like much, this entry, but there's just so many cool little tricks used throughout the park. Just an incredible entry, once again from Robby Hood. Okay, and here's the final entry that I want to show. This one is from Mulpje. Now, of course, when Mulpje joins a contest, you can expect a big building, and this entry is no exception. It's just an incredible building to see here. There was a story about an evil sorcerer or something. I don't really remember how the story went. But yeah, a huge vertical drop coaster here, traveling throughout this park and around this building. This building is decorated in an incredible way. I also love these skulls with these bones on top. I also love these expansion pieces. You don't see people use them very often, but they're used in a really nice way here. And the track texture on the side of this building is also done in an incredible way. I mean, yeah, I can look at this building for a long time. There's just so many nice little details on it. So yeah, nice buildings, a really nice coaster. I love how it wraps around the building and goes through it. There's just so much cool stuff to see here. Very nicely decorated, and also it goes really well with the palette. Alright, now that I've shown the top 3 entries, it's time to reveal who was the winner of the round. And when I reveal it, you will also see the scores of the other 2 contestants. So, the winner of this mini contest is... Ulvenwood. Okay, the scores were really close. So any one of the contestants could have, last 3 contestants could have won. But yeah, this was really one of my favorite. I love how he did these Pokemon, especially the Gyarados was done in a really nice way. But yeah, to be fair, I liked all 3 of the final 3 entries. They were all done in a really great way. And they were all also really different. It's nice to see 3 completely different entries in the top 3. So yeah, this was a really fun contest. I loved watching all your creations. Everybody, well, a lot of people went for a really different style, and yeah, just we might do something like this again in the future. I really liked watching you guys all build in this contest. Alright, that was it for this video. If you want to join one of these contests, you'll have to join my Discord server. The link is in the video description. Discord is completely free. So yeah, I hope to see you join sometime soon. Alright, that was it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again in the next video. See you later.